How are we doing, guys? Yet another Transfer Daily, joined by Mr. Joe Wainman and let's just say, a loan with an obligation to buy. Danny has joined us as well on our, first Transfer Daily live stream, guys. Well, as a group anyway. So, guys, plenty going on. How are you two doing?
Great, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm doing really good, mate. I'm not ill, by the way. There was a lot of comments on my video the other day. I don't know if it was the lighting or my eyes. I'm just really tired. I've had a bit of a rough week. I'm being made redundant, if I'm honest, guys. So I'll lose my job in October. So if that conveyed on camera, I do apologise. I got loads of messages saying, are you okay? I am okay, and thank you so much for your support, guys. Leeds, as always.
So, guys, we will go through your comments. Get your questions into us. There's a couple of things we can go through first. The latest news from Phil Hayes' latest article in The Athletic. We're just going to go through that first, give our thoughts on it. There's a lot being discussed. And just get your questions in for us. Get your questions for me, Joe and Danny. And let's get straight to it then, guys. First point being made by Phil Hayes. So, it was a bit of a Q&A. When do we expect Marcelo Bielsa to sign? And just go through what Phil Hayes said. Let's get down to the brass tacks with this one, because it's evidently the burning issue for everyone. My understanding is that Leeds and Bielsa are essentially agreed on the terms of an extension for next season. Unless something goes wrong over the weekend, the contract should be finalised and put in place before the players resume training on Wednesday. The length of time taken to get this done shouldn't be a surprise. Neither of his previous contract negotiations were quick, and both Bielsa's deal and his expectations can be complex. But Leeds' confidence and his camp are confident. The bottom line is the club cannot afford for this process to fail, and they know that. So, guys, positive news, or 99.999% certain positive news. It's not a surprise, is it really? I don't think we were ever really seriously fearful of losing Bielsa. But, Danny, your reactions to this one, mate?
Well, it's obviously good news to start with. If Bielsa wasn't going to be hanging about, he wouldn't be sat in a Costa looking at transfers, would he? He'd be on the beach with a pina colada in Buenos Aires somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I'd do the same. But I'm glad he's staying because, the third year under Bielsa in the Premier League, it's great stuff for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, Matt. I'm just going to go through the quick. Michael 20, yet again, the legend Michael 20, with a lovely super chat. Thanks very much, mate. Sorry, Joe.
No worries, mate. Don't worry about it at all. But I have to echo what Danny says. Ultimately, there is still a lot of nervousness around Bielsa's situation. I think you don't need to be worried. The fact he was on a first bus the other day with a gay rider. I said he might have been on his way to go view the mural, and that's mural because I got a lot of stick for saying Muriel about the painting that was done, and I got absolutely hammered for saying Muriel. Apparently, a mural's someone's grandma. A mural is what you put on the wall. So sorry, guys, for getting that wrong. But yeah, listen, like Danny says, he's not going to be in Costa. He's not going to be driving first buses. He's not driving it, but you get what I mean. If indeed he was, looking to head back to Argentina, is he? Let's be honest. So, yeah, it's good times, and I think hopefully, we might hear something on Monday. Maybe I know Graham Smith put out before he went off on holiday to say things will happen next week. That was his parting shot as he left to go on holiday. Maybe we'll see the white smoke again on Monday outside of Ellen Road as Bielsa, God, gets announced for another season, maybe even longer. I know, Danny, you were mentioning off air there, about maybe some changes internally. We don't have to go in depth with that, but of course, could he stay longer, guys? What do you think?
From what I've seen, that I've heard that Bielsa he loves the club. And internally and the people around it. You saw how much promotion meant to all of us after 16 years in the wilderness, and you could see on his face how humbled he was. Even I was like, whoa. Do you know what I mean? With all the people bringing him cakes during lockdown and stuff, and you can just tell he gets it, and he loves. I think he loves around here, so I don't think he would want to move on anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd have to agree, guys. I think what always happens with Bielsa is it's 1 year, 1 year at a time. I think he'll take it. It depends how well this first season goes. If it's a struggle this first season, you might think, the work here's probably done. Or if it goes well, if we build, we have a Sheffield United, if we have a Wolves kind of season, you might fancy carrying on again. It's hard to say, isn't it, guys? I think you just never know. You're never 100% with Bielsa. No matter how well things are going. I wouldn't be surprised if anything happens over the next day or so. It's Bielsa at the end of the day. I mean, he left his job at Marseille a week into his second season. If he isn't happy with something, if he doesn't quite think he can do his job to his maximum potential. I've been reading his book the last week or so, and if he doesn't feel he can do that job to his maximum potential, and he's not enjoying it, that's the important thing. If he's not enjoying it, he walks on. And as far as I can see, guys, he's enjoying it. I mean, how can he not be enjoying it at the minute? He's got the whole of Leeds in the palm of his hand at the minute. But guys, I think, obviously we've spoken about Bielsa a lot. We're feeling pretty confident on that one. I think we can safely move on to the next point of Phil Hayes' article. So, Next question. Now, the second biggest transfer saga, if you like, that's coming in over the last couple of weeks is Benjamin White. What is happening with Benjamin White? So, this is what Phil Hayes had to say. Have Leeds inquired about Ben White? Yes, but so far, Brighton have been less than encouraging. They maintain they don't want to sell White, but he's a major priority for Leeds in this window. As we've all seen, he fits Bielsa's system perfectly and has the makings of an elite, top-class centre-back. White is due to return to training with Brighton shortly, and that's when the picture around him should become clearer. His salary is a mile below the prominent first-team defence at Albion, and the club have to address this if they want to keep him happy. Their offers so far haven't been successful. What I thought was quite telling was Brighton's owner, Tony Bloom, admitting to us a few days ago they have an abundance of centre-backs, which implied that they have too many. Something tells me Leeds wouldn't be wasting time with this if they thought a deal with White was dead in the water. And ultimately, what does White want? Bielsa and Leeds so far have been very good for him. So guys, it's a mixed one, isn't it? That it's a couple of different angles you can take off that. Obviously, Brighton have got work to do to keep him in the first place. It's not just a simple he's their player. They've got to do work just to keep him within the facilities of Brighton. But obviously, there's been a lot of mention of other clubs there. It wasn't non-committal as such, I feel, Hay, but I guess it's two ways of looking at it. If you want to look at it from a positive point of view, Ben White isn't happy particularly at Brighton at the moment with what they're currently offering him. But if you want to look at it from a negative point of view, there's a lot of clubs interested in Ben White. So I'll go to you first, Joe, because obviously you've spoken a lot about Ben White over the last couple of weeks. How do you feel more confident now than you did sort of this time a week, 2 weeks ago, having read that?
I would say yeah, and the reason being is obviously their owner said it there. They have an abundance of centre backs. They brought another one in yesterday. People tell me he's for the under 23s, but ultimately it's still another centre back in the door. They're looking to the future. Maybe Ben White's not part of that future. I don't see Ben White looking at the Brighton situation, seeing the centre backs that are there and thinking, I'm going to fight for my place, because I think Ben White, rightly so, thinks I don't need to fight for my place. I've shown what I can do. Whether or not that's the right attitude, but I think, personally, he don't need to prove anything to Brighton. This guy is a top-level centre-back. I think the fact that the negotiations for a contract, from what the article says, maybe have broken down a little bit. I've not seen much of that until that article. But that's, again, positive news for Leeds United, because it wouldn't surprise me if Orta and co have already got that ready for Ben to say, it's there, it's ready. When you want to, when you're done with Brighton, and if you want to make that decision, you just need to sign on the dotted line. And he's the one for us. He's probably up there with one of our main targets, as was KP staying last season. I think it's a similar sort of, and it's that pivotal to this Leeds United side. I know he might go out and get another and do just as drastic things, but it'd be nice to just have that same core group. And I think, Ben White's just fantastic, isn't he? And I know there's been talk of Liverpool, Oscar, but for me, you come to Leeds, from a Leeds perspective as well, there's even resale value on it, because if, like we've said before, if Harry Maguire's going for 80, give me Ben White in the Premier League 2 or 3 seasons under Bielsa. If we get that long, he's just going to be, knocking on the door of the huge clubs, like, you know, I genuinely feel that, and hopefully we can get it done.
Danny, would you agree that is that the absolute priority, Ben White, before any kind of new signings for you? If we can get that done.
Sorry to cut you off. I think Joe's absolutely nailed it on the head there. I think Ben White, he's going back to a Brighton team where he'll have to learn Potter. Is it Potter?
Yeah.
Potter. Potter's, you know, tactics, how he wants to play, and like they brought another defender in. There were hundreds of people on Brighton Beach last night or yesterday, and half of them are Brentford's players. Do you know what I mean? And basically, we can offer him a better wage, more playing time, guaranteed Premier League football. I bet Ben's thinking, you know, why should I stay here and fight for my place when I can play? I've got a guaranteed number 5 shirt, you know, starting with Leeds United in the Premier League. I mean, for me, I'd like 2 centre backs. You know, to cover Berardi as well, but obviously that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think Joe's nailed it on the head there, mate.
Yeah, I think obviously the thing is with Brighton is that there's no guarantees for Ben White if he stays there. Yeah, Brighton, you know, as much as I think Ben White is their best centre back at the minute at the football club, you've got to remember they've got Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, they spent 20 million on, brought in Veltman, brought in another centre half. They're making a lot of centre-half signings for a club that supposedly wants to keep Ben White. It seems like they've kind of given up on the idea. And I don't know, guys, there's a couple of links you can make. You know, obviously Quarter are interested in him, supposedly. It's kind of cooled, I think was the exact words for it. It's a lot of 2 + 2 = 4 kind of thing. But I know football doesn't quite kind of work like that sometimes. But you just think, why would Brighton be making all this business if they were confident, you know, Ben White's going to stay and be happy? And it's a tough job, isn't it? Let's not forget, you know, Graham Potter, one of the first things he did when he got that job was put Ben White out on loan and then spend 20 million on Adam Webster. It's a difficult situation, isn't it? You're coming back to the club and all of a sudden you're playing alongside a centre-half the club spent 20 million on and shipped you out for. I'm just thinking of that from like a psychological point of view. There can't be much coming back from that kind of thing. You must feel a little bit, not so much betrayed, but you must think, you know what, that Graham Potter this time last year had no faith in me at all. And why should I repay his faith? Why would I not go and play for Bielsa, who's, you know, given me my opportunity? I think he played every minute of every game last season, Ben White. Pretty sure that's right. Anyway, but for me, guys, that's what I'm feeling. I don't know, if you want to put percentage on it, I'd probably say 10, 20% more confident than it was kind of this time a week ago, a bit more 50-50 on it. But I don't know, guys. Make sure you keep your comments coming in. But yeah, guys, I think obviously we've covered that one well. I
think Oscar as well. Sorry, just to jump in and cut you off. Like Stephen says here, he's still got the Leeds United picture on his Twitter. And I know social media isn't the be all and end all, but ultimately, if he had no intention of coming back to this club, that gets changed. Do you know what I mean? That gets changed to his parent club almost instantly. I don't know. So I think that's a good point made by Stephen. That it still shows it's all about Leeds really in Ben's thoughts.
Also on his sorry, I jump in again. Also on his farewell message where he says whatever happens. That says to me that there's something going on in the background. I mean, I know that Keneal was saying that we're going to try anyway. But with all these signings coming in for Brighton, especially in the defensive areas, I mean, the latest one, he says under 23s, that could already be Ben White's replacement.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably thinking, right, Leeds want Ben White on permanently. We could probably get some money out of him, if we just hold off. It's just football tactics, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other thing with Brighton was I was having a little look at their forums because I was like searching for Ben White because that's pretty much what I've been doing every single day. Every single minute of the day has been Googling Ben White and that lot. Honestly, my internet history, I'd be really in court as a stalker, honestly, guys, after this connection. But what you see mentioned a lot on the Brighton forums is that a couple of them are saying, I'm not bothered if Ben White goes because we need money from Ben White, potentially 35 million to spend on forwards because Brighton, I think they were the lowest scorers or one of the lowest scores in the Prem. So maybe Graham Potter's thinking it from that point of view, bring in a couple of cheaper defenders from Holland, etc. Veltman wasn't cost much, reinvest in strikers and that lot. You don't know, guys, but I feel more confident on it, to be honest. I think the other thing as well with Ben White is you don't stand in front of Ellen Road in front of 20, 30,000 people dancing to Ben White, sign him up, if you don't have an intention to stay. Because when you're going back into training that first morning back at Brighton, you're going to get some looks, aren't you? You know, you don't often see a lone player do something like that. I mean, I can't remember many lone players getting that into it when his team's gone up. But guys,
also on that, sorry, I know we're staying on the Ben White situation, but listen, it's the main one, isn't it? But ultimately, as well, like, of course we're going to say this, and of course we're going to think this, but we're the best fans in the country, certainly in the top one. Why would he want to go from that to, and all respect to Brighton, and to, you know, he's at the Amex, you know, so why does he want to go from the Holy Grail of Ellen Road to the Amex? I just think Leeds United's got to be the place for Ben, man. Fingers crossed.
So guys, let's just to move on. Let's go on to Phil Hay's next point. Next question for Phil Hay: if we don't get White, okay, who do you see as the club's backup options? So one player who was mentioned to me this week was 18-year-old Taylor Harwood-Bellis at Manchester City. Although I can't say if Leeds would actually go for him. In our sensible transfers piece, we picked out 2 defenders at Swansea this season: Ben Wilmot and Ben Cabanyo, as options whose attributes on paper draw reasonable comparisons to White's. But when you speak to Leeds, they're only talking about White. They're going to try to make that happen. So it's an interesting one. It sounds like we're playing hardball. When I read this first time, when I saw this first time on Twitter, it reminded me a lot of Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp on Virgil van Dijk when they first signed him. If you remember when they went into Virgil van Dijk, Klopp would not budge. He had the choice of any European centre-back, but he picked that one. And to me, when I'm looking at someone like Marcelo Bielsa, I see that same kind of philosophy. You know, he won't budge on that one target. If it takes a bit longer to get in, if it takes until the last week of August, the first week of the season, I think he'd take the risk, guys. But in terms of those other names mentioned, Harwood-Bellis, Cabanyo, Wilmot, what would you think to those, Joe, if one of those walked through the door?
The Bellis kid at City, mate, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know anything about him, because I don't. And we'll do a little bit of digging on that one afterwards. But again, it's one that I've seen this morning. I know Phil said whether or not they'll go for it. Do we... Listen, we'll touch on, and I know a lot of people have come on the comments about the number of centre-backs we need and what Bielsa wants might not correspond with what we want. But ultimately, if we are just going to go for one, then the kid at City can't be the one. He's 18-year-old. We need a little bit more. I mean, Ben White's inexperienced as it is, so to throw in a kid at that age. But listen, Bielsa has the Midas touch. But I do like Ben Cabanyo. I'm not going to lie. I think Wilmot's been in and out. I think he's been a bit injured this season. But when I've seen Cabanyo, when I've seen Swansea, obviously we've done the watch-alongs as well, he's looked very good. And if that is another option, then, you know, in Bielsa we trust is all I'll say on that. I think, you know, like you guys say, the signings that are being linked, some of them are so, like, way above and beyond. But I do think it will be these sort of signings that you wouldn't expect, like Cabangos and stuff. You're not going to look at Leeds United and go, do you know what, if they don't get Ben White, they need to be looking at X, Y, Z. I don't think anyone's throwing Cabango into that conversation. More of Van der Horn, right? Do you know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on it.
Also, Van der Horn's on a free at the minute as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, Danny, would you be fussed if Bielsa went down the Ben White route again? Like Joe was saying, of these lesser known defenders, these younger defenders who still raw but have that real good technical quality to them. Would you be happy to go down that route, take that risk again, like, and try and unearth a new Ben White to an extent?
I mean, obviously, Ben White. I mean, I did see a little. Am I back? Yeah,
you're back. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, internet's rubbish. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I remember seeing Ben White play against Newport when Berardi scored, and I remember thinking then, oh, he's all right. He's quite decent. I know he went up. I think he was 18 at the time. But to answer your question, mate, it's quite a tough one. I mean, Ben White, as it is, he's got one season of Championship football under Bielsa, by the way, which is hard going as it is. I mean, he said right at the beginning of the season that he didn't know whether he were going to, do it, keep up with it, and he did. And if anything, he excelled at it, in my opinion. I remember seeing fans saying about Ben White, he's rubbish, but I mean, like Joe says, in Bielsa we trust, and we've got to trust. I mean, we don't pick the team, he does. And Bielsa football for the past 2 years, I mean, viva la revolution, do you know what I mean? I'm all for it. But yeah, if that's what Bielsa decides to do, then all we've got to do is get behind him. I know a lot of Leeds fans won't like that, but that's what we've got to do, isn't it?
I've got to agree, mate. I mean, I've seen a lot of, let's just say, freaking out on Twitter about Harwood Bellis, but I'll be honest, I've seen him play once, a cup game. I think they're playing Preston. I just flicked it on. I think it was City playing Preston. He was playing alongside Laporte, I think it was. He looked good, but again, it's one game. It's Preston away in the cup game. You can't really base it off that, but
let's not forget we're playing Premier League this season as well.
That's the trouble. You're up against
you're up against internationals week in, week out.
And he'd be playing alongside Liam Cooper, not Laporte. Do you know what I mean? As much as I love Cooper, there's a difference there, and he's got players in front of him. I don't know who played in that lineup, but you've got players in front of him. Might have been a Sterling or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I think personally we can't go down that route if Ben White wasn't made to be done. But I remember last season when we lost Janssen and we brought White in, and everyone were going, we need more. Ben White can't be the one. And look how it turned out. He was arguably the best player. He was the best centre-back in that division, hands down. I like Pinnock and stuff, but no one came nowhere close to Ben White's levels for me. Consistency. He was unreal, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember seeing, sorry to cut you off, Joe.
That's all right.
I remember seeing him just that Stoke game. His confidence, he's willing to run forward, and his diags as well. This is essentially what Bielsa wants, doesn't he? I mean, even with his keepers, he wants a fifth centre back, ball playing centre back, and he's just pinging left. And the one that he did where he just cut inside and ran, and then I think he played the ball through to Bamford. And do you know what I mean? And that's what we want: entertaining football and confident on the ball. And I think Ben White has assured Cooper in the same sort of way, if that makes sense.
I think it was his debut was the big one as well, like against Bristol City. I think his first touch of the ball, Kiko gave him a horrific pass right back on byline. I think it's Diedu trying to press him. He's just megs Diedu and just walks past him. You tell someone in the first minute, you think, you know what, you're going to fit in right well here, mate, kind of thing. And that's the thing, isn't it, guys? But I guess, more and more is going to develop in the next couple of days. We're seeing quarter links. We're seeing tons of different centre-backs links, experienced ones as well. So, guys, let's move on to the next little point then. Let's question. Okay, a bit more exciting. The attacking players.
This is the ones.
The ones that are going to fire us to the title. So,
exactly.
Eze, Harry Wilson, Buendia. What have you got for us, Phil, my lad? Leeds would love to take side Benrahma, and they're very much in the fight for that one. But it's apparent that they won't be the only club going for him. Watkins has a lot of the right strengths for the club, and the club have asked about Emi Buendia at Norwich, although the indication I'm getting is that they prefer other players before him, Benrahma, for example. Harry Wilson is an interesting case. He's been very highly rated by Leeds, brackets, and Victor Orta especially, for a while, and he's always on the list of possibilities. With Wilson, it would depend on price and what Liverpool intend to do with him. One to watch, possibly. So there's a lot being spoken about in there. Potentially, quite a surprising thing I took from that, guys, was Buendia being lowered down the list. But one thing that did point out as well was Harry Wilson, the brackets bit where it said Victor Orta especially. Now, we all know Victor Orta is in charge of recruitment. Do we see that one happening before anything? I'll go to Danny first.
Well, Bielsa was at the Bournemouth match against Everton. I mean, it all depends who we were looking at. I mean, I know that last season or the start of the season, he wanted Ryan Kent from Liverpool, didn't he? And he, from what I understand, he was going to convert him into a number 10, into a winger. So maybe he's doing that with Wilson. You know what I mean? He's like that sort of Kent replacement in his head. Brooks, I like Brooks there. I remember when he scored against us at Ellen Road. I've never shouted. I've shouted at my TV quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, Benrahma, who wouldn't? He walks into any team, doesn't he? Buendia, from what I've heard, he's got a bit of an attitude. But yeah, I'd take Benrahma all day. Maybe he converts him into a 10 as well. You know, puts him in that attacking mid. Maybe that's the outlet. You know, like a Pablo replacement. I mean, I love Pablo to bits, as you saw. I said it the other day. But he's 35 now, and that in footballers' years is, you know, at end of the road nearly.
Yeah. I think. Listen, on the Harry Wilson one for me, I think that's why he was at Bournemouth. That's why he was at Bournemouth. I think Orta's presented Harry Wilson to him, and he's gone to watch him in the flesh. I think, you know, there was the links with Ramsdale. However, I believe Sheffield United have had 12 million turned down. Listen, on our goalkeeper situation, we're not paying 12 million for a goalie. We're not, guys. It's not happening for me. I may be wrong, but we're not. That's a lot of our transfer budget on someone that arguably might not even start, because Bielsa has faith in the goalkeepers that are in the club at this moment in time, more, you know, especially Melier. So for me, if I look at who else is there, Brooke, out of our price range, Callum Wilson, I can't see it again. A lot of money we'd have to pay, and I think he'd be on big wages. I think Harry Wilson's the one for me, that he was at that Bournemouth game, and I would like him here. I'm a fan of him, regardless of the Derby situation. He was a good player, man. Let's be honest. Yeah.
Well, let's not forget that he's pretty much been carrying that Bournemouth team as well.
Yeah. There is that, and listen, on Benrahma, I've seen a lot of people saying he's overpriced, he's this, he's that. For me, he's the one, and I've said that publicly over Buendia and stuff. Although I listen to other people, Josh Hobbs of All Stats Aren't We is a massive fan of Buendia. He showed me some stats, how his pressing was up there with the best in the league, chances created was up there with the likes. And, you know, when you see him next to these names like De Bruyne and stuff, you're like, wow, this kid actually, and he was at Norwich and weren't doing well. However, Graham Smith said it, and now Phil Hayes said it, that actually he's not high up on the list. And if he's not high up on the list, are we paying 25 million for him? I don't think so. If he was 10, maybe we might have a sniff. Not 25 mil, what they're wanting. So I see that being I see that being as a last resort for me personally. Benrahma's the one. But like Phil says, with Benrahma, I've seen Chelsea linked, I've seen Tottenham linked, I've seen, you know, Villa, all these players. You know, for me, I genuinely thought Watkins and Benrahma were cut and dried, and that was naive of me, because as soon as Brentford have lost that game, everywhere's reporting that everyone wants these two, and I'm like, because I think personally for me, both would improve our squad no end. I don't know what you think, Oscar.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the difficult thing with Benrahma and Watkins, something I mentioned a lot about, it's the London clubs coming in, that London lifestyle, that London thing. Do you want to walk away from that? If you're Watkins, Benrahma, young lads and that lot, do they want to walk away? It's a big thing. It's a big thing for a lot of players now, London. You know, you've seen players reject Man City and scum for London, you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I think Wilson, what I like about Wilson, the idea of Wilson is that I think he scored 7, I think someone flashed up the stats before, 7 in 20 starts last season for Bournemouth. So if he's playing week in, week out, you're looking at someone there who's potentially double figures, who's not a striker. I think he can play in that 10 role, which Danny mentioned. I look at Wilson. I think at Derby, he plays centrally quite a lot. The way he strikes the ball is absolutely phenomenal. From distance, he's a massive threat. You know, if you're chasing a game, 5 minutes to go, you're not really getting much luck in the box. You know, defensively on top. You want someone like Wilson there who can just launch shots in from 30, 25, 30 yards and score goals. And yeah, that's what I like the idea of him. You know, someone who can score from distance, you know, bring a little bit of a different dynamic to the attack. And Buendia, as you mentioned, what I don't like about Buendia so much is the lack of goals. I think it's all right having the creativity, which is his numbers are absolutely incredible. I think De Bruyne was top on chances created. Buendia was second, as I think Josh said. And the thing is, if there's no one in the team to really take those chances, there's not really much point in creating them. I'd much rather have someone who can put the ball in the back of the net than create chances for others, because we already know we are really, really wasteful in front of goal. I think we improved it after lockdown, but in the Premier League, when you've got people like Edison, Alisson, top quality goalkeepers, top quality defenders like Van Dijk, Laporte, we're going to have more goal scorers in the team. And I think Wilson, Benrahma, Watkins provide that. Look, Benrahma's unrealistic for me. I think Watkins is probably more likely, just on a personal opinion on that one. I think Benrahma, as you said, I see him go to an Arsenal or Chelsea. I see him being that good to go to there, and maybe even a Tottenham, something like that. I do see him at that kind of level.
Arsenal's a good shout.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just see him going somewhere like that. But Wilson is a very good backup option. Very, very good backup option. In some elements of his game, the way he strikes the ball, I think he's as big a goal threat as Benrahma. And I like that element of him. I think, obviously, training under Jurgen Klopp, he's going to be used to the high press. He's been working with Jurgen Klopp since he's been 17, 18. His fitness levels are going to be up there, kind of thing. A bit like Ryan Brewster going to Swansea. Didn't need much introduction. His fitness levels up there already. We've seen with Nketiah. Nketiah's been mentioned a lot in the chat. He took a while to adapt. I mean, he was absolutely amazing, Eddie, don't get me wrong. But when he started games, we didn't see that same element of him. So we've got to think of that as well, the fitness levels of these players. Has Benrahma got intensity to his game? To press for 90 minutes? We have to wait and see. So you've got to consider, obviously, things like that too. But, yeah, guys, I think, obviously, it's a lot of different mentions, isn't there, of potential signings. But let's just go on to next question for Phil Hay. So obviously attacking signings. Just try and find where I am. So I've asked this question week after week. What realistic 4 players would you sign if we go up? Well, now we are here. Let's have an answer, Phil. Benrahma, straight up. There's so much potential there. I'd take Callum Wilson from Bournemouth. Naturally, you'd want Ben White. And a very interesting last one here. Ryan Sessegnon from Spurs. Very, very good shout from the Oracle there for me. What do you think of that 4, Joe? If that walked through the door, those 4 players, where would you see Leeds finishing?
Listen, I see us finishing just maybe knocking on the door of European football. I genuinely do, and people may laugh, but listen, Sheffield United did it, and that's just because Bielsa's at the helm. If Bielsa isn't at the helm, then I look at the squad and think maybe not. But then 4 would be huge, right? Definitely. Benrahma's the one for me. He is. That's the one that I'm like, please. Ben White as well. And then Sessegnon, there's been a lot made about the left back. Has he had much game time under Mourinho? Will he get much game time under Mourinho? Mourinho likes experience, hardened defenders, someone that, and he's Sessegnon that, I don't know, and he's someone that would fit on that left-hand side, second to none. He's not been mentioned, though. I do think the Callum Wilson one for me, yes, he probably will be great in this side. I know, Oscar, you've got opinions on he's had a bit of a fall from grace towards the back end and Bournemouth's form. I know you mentioned that before. But yeah, I think he'd be a little bit too pricey as well for me in terms of wages. But if we were to get them 4 done, if that was to be the ones, then 100% I'd be well on board with that, mate.
Danny, would you agree with those 4? Are those the 4 to get us, elate us into pushing for a Sheffield United type season, pushing for European football potentially?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if them 4 were to walk through the door, I'd be happy with that. I'd say it's good business, to be fair. I mean, let's not forget it. We need to avoid that drop first season, and I'd happily take them 4 without a doubt. And I mean, let's not forget what the squad have done this season. I know the championship quality, but it's time to step up now. And I think most of them players will, and I can easily see as top 10, maybe like a Sheffield United season, without a doubt. I mean, a lot of fans want us to go straight back down. They'd love that after all the stuff we've given out. But we're Leeds United, and we don't want to go down without a fight. And someone's probably just clipped that, and it'll be a meme in about 12 months.
I think the thing is, obviously, that first season, it's what do you class as a success? And I'm sure you guys will agree. Obviously, we've got the way we finished this season. We've got to have confidence, haven't we? We've got to have that confidence. We've looked more like the Wolves team that went up 2 years ago than we have a team that's just stuttered over the line, like say West Brom have. I think we've looked more like a team that's ready for it. Really, really, truly too good for the Championship. I do genuinely would use those words. We are too good for the Championship. But I think anything above those relegation zones would suit me, guys. I think as long as we carry on doing what we're doing, we don't lose our principles, we keep playing out the back, we keep playing our same kind of brand of football, we keep trying to take the game to the opposition, then that's going to be a test. That's going to be a test. Going to Liverpool away, having the bravery to play out the back against Mane, Salah, Firmino, pressing you. And sometimes there is going to be games where that's not going to work. We're going to lose the ball. Sterling, Aguero, Torres, Ferran Torres that have just signed are going to really punish us. So we've got to accept that. But for me, I think it's survival will be absolutely fantastic. If we can push higher up the table, it'd be a massive bonus. But I'm just looking at that first season and thinking, let's just get ourselves established. Let's just show we mean business. We're not going to be fearful of any team this season. We're not going to go to Scum away and try and sit back. We're going to try and play with their own game. We're going to go there to win. And if we score at Scum, we're going to push for a second goal. We're not just going to do what these teams that get promoted do, sit in and just hope for a set piece and that lot. And not to have a go at Sheffield United. They do it. It works well for them. But I want to do see us really be unique to that level. The Premier League, for me, over the last couple of years, I don't know what you lads think. I think it's gone really poor, to be honest. I think the last couple of seasons, I think it's been really poor to watch. No disrespect to Burnley, but when you're seeing Burnley have so much success, and there's not much to Burnley, so they just keep it tight at the back and set pieces and that lot. I just look at that and say, let's maintain what we do. Let's be the entertainers in the league. And yeah, I'm rambling a bit now, guys, but yeah.
I think just on what you're saying, Oscar, I do agree with you. Listen, I don't get for 1 second think that if we finish outside the relegation zone, I'm not going to be happy with that. I genuinely am. Of course, we need to stay in the division, first and foremost. I just think we could go a little bit further. The reason is, and again, maybe naive, but I look at Fulham, I look at West Brom, and they're going to be struggling for me. I think we have the style of play that's going to suit us, and we're going to get results. But you could have said that about Norwich. But listen, they only spent 3 million. So we're going to spend more than that. We're going to improve the squad. But... yeah, I mean, I've rambled. I've forgot my point, but ultimately, I'm just happy, man. When I hear you speak about like playing out in the back, and you mention them names, Mane, Salah, and that, it gets me all giddy inside because I'm like, I can't wait for next season.
That's the thing. I mean, when the fixture list comes out, I mean, they're the kind of games you're going to look at, like Anfield away, Scum away. Going back to those places, hopefully. It's going to be when we're back in the grounds when we play those teams. But you got to look at those games and think, if we can just do one or two of those games, can really just cause a bit of a shock. Just boil a bit of piss. Just wind them up a bit. Just go against the status quo a little bit. I think that's what Bielsa wants to do more than anything. I think that's what Bielsa's always been about. He hates teams that just have it easy. He hates teams that just spend millions and just bring in the best players and just win from there. Just because they have the best players. He wants to disrupt that status quo.
Yeah, my point came back to me, guys. How good does the Prem look next season, though? Not just because we're in it, but I feel it's getting a little bit more of a 90s feel about it. Sheffield United being in there, Leeds being in there, and I look at some of the clubs and see it now, the likes of Bournemouth, etc., have dropped out. I look at it and think, that's starting to look like the Premier League that I remember when I used to collect the Merlin sticker books and stuff. It's starting to look good again. And what about you, Danny? It looks like it's going to be a good Premier League season.
It looks strong. It looks gritty. I'd have liked Forest there, to be fair. And just that Clough sort of link, just to go back to that ground and pick them there. And basically, I agree. It feels better now that we're in it, and people can come back to Ellen Road and and sort of relive, and for many fans, live for the first time that Leeds United crowd. When we're paggering them, all Leeds out we, and they're just in that corner. And and then and some of our fans to go to their grounds as well. I mean, it's a new era now, and we're in with the big boys, and we're going to be like big boys, and we're going to play like big boys. I've said big boys too many times, but do you know what I mean? Every Leeds fan feels that now, and full stop. That's it. That's it. We're Premier League, aren't we?
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, let's move on to Phil Hayes' next point. Okay, we're back on to Che Adams. Have the club gone cold on Che Adams, or is he still an option? So Phil's response, it's not so much a case of going cold, it's more of a case of Adams being firmly in the picture at Southampton. As it stands, he's not available. I don't know what you lads think, but that's not a massive surprise to me. I did think of Adams a couple of weeks ago, but I think he scored 2 on the last day of the season for Southampton. Southampton seem to be playing him and Ings up top together. Not a massive surprise to this, Danny.
No, it's an easy link as well, I suppose. And plus, if he had signed, would have been 20 million down already, plus Costa, plus Meslier. So so straight away, what's that? 40 million. 15 for Costa, 20. Yeah, so it would have been 40 million in the bag already. But don't get me wrong, I'd like to see him in the team this season. I'd have thought he'd have bagged for fun, to be honest with you. But like you say, going with Che Adams, I think he played well towards the end of the season. But I think that's gone. What do you think?
Yeah.
You still there, Danny?
Yeah, sorry. Did you get that?
He's on the dance. Yeah. No, I agree, Matt. I think with Shea now, it's water under the bridge. It's done, and it'd have been ideal if we'd have got him in at the time. And I do agree with you. I think he would have bagged goals for fun in the Championship in this side, and then we'd have gone into the Prem, and he'd have been used to it all. But now it's done. It's water under the bridge. He's doing well at Southampton. Good luck to him. We'll go and look elsewhere.
We'll move on from that one, to be honest, lads. I think that's one I think we spent the whole of January debating that one.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise, it was never realistic. So, next point, on to Kiko Casilla. So, I'm in the camp that thinks Casilla's contract means he is staying, brackets, and as shown by the Derby game, in which he, of course, played. Bielsa will be okay playing him, brackets, but not as number one. However, if I'm wrong, who do you see as coming in as competition for our still young Elan Meslier? So Phil Hayes' response was, we're waiting to find out with Casilla. It was interesting that Bielsa decided to use him at Derby because it suggested that in his mind, Casilla is not necessarily done. But I still think there's a chance he'll go. Casilla's reputation has taken a big hit in England. I know that Leeds have been long been interested in Emiliano Martinez. Sorry, guys, I'm on a bit of a wobble there. But sadly, he's flavour at the month at Arsenal. They've also looked at Angus Gunn at Southampton before, and that was a name which cropped up again last week. Something LUSC Lewis mentioned as well, actually. And whatever happens, there's a very good chance Elan Meslier will start as number one. So the things to take from that, lads, is, first of all, Kiko Casilla. Do we think he's done at Leeds? For me, when I was looking at Casilla starting against Derby, I didn't read too much into that. I think Joe mentioned this as well. I just saw it as a token gesture. Kiko's played so many games this season. I've one more game. Meslier will play out last game. I didn't see much in that. I didn't read much into that as being Kiko Casilla being handed a second chance. I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Do you think is there any chance he stays at the club?
I can't see it. Listen, I agree with you. And maybe is Bielsa a sentimental man, would you say? Does he the way it ended for Casilla last season at Derby, did he give him that opportunity to right them wrongs a little bit and get that guard of honour? Whether or not you agree with Bielsa's thinking on that. But I do think it maybe was a little bit of a swan song. We'll give you this because then the game was changed straight back for Charlton. If he had thoughts of keeping him, maybe he keeps him in at Charlton. I know he's gone back to Spain. He's done bits in the media back in Spain, says he still doesn't think he's done anything wrong. I just can't see how he's brought back into the fold. And maybe the fact Angus Gunn's been mentioned, they are looking at other options. And Casilla's on a big wage as well. So maybe he does move on and maybe he is done. I think a lot of fans wouldn't be happy. And I think it'd be negative for Leeds United to be going into a Premier League season with all the media and everything on us for him to be sat on the bench. I think it's unnecessary attention, negative attention at Leeds United, regardless of where you stand on it. It'll just be, there's Kiko Casilla who got done for, who was accused of, and it's just a narrative that we don't need. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Just sorry, Dan. Just before I go on to Danny, I'm just going to got a very, very kind super chat from our friend Bernard Sevilla from Romania. Greetings again from Romania. Again, great content. Great insights. Order of priority for us: Bielsa, White, Benrahma, and goalkeeper. Very kind of Bernard Sevilla. He's donated what looks like exchange rate of £50. Thanks so much, mate. Thanks so much. And keep up the good work. Top quality support from Bernard there. But Danny, I mean, do you read that the same as Joe and myself and Joe? You know, saying that it feels like it's it for Casilla. You know, all the media attention that would get if Casilla starts that first game of the season.
I agree with Joe again. That when people see Casilla, they just see that ban for that, you know, for that racism. Now, he's not even attempted, you know, to apologise or anything like that. Now, when I heard that, I thought, right, that's it. We won't see him again. I thought his days were numbered, and I still think his days are numbered now because I think we'll get another keeper in, and I think Casilla will go back to Spain. I mean, I think he's on about 50k a week, and now we've been promoted. He's probably on more. You know, there might be a clause, so he'd be raking in money just to sit on the bench. And even you touched on Derby there, and I know it was a nothing game for us, but even when Kiko was in the net, I was still nervous. He still made me nervous, and I think Millie is in the past 10 games. I mean, I think he's come on leaps and bounds. To say that he's unproven in the Championship again, and and then just that thing called catching a ball. He does it. Do you know what I mean? And none of this flapping. And I can't see Kiko staying, and I just can't. Not after that. I know a lot of fans want him out, but to turn around and say that I've done nothing wrong. You'd sort of try and make amends, wouldn't you? Just apologise to the fans as well. I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to.
Go on. Let's be honest, right? Even if he didn't mean it, he could apologise. Now, that's not the right thing to do. I'm not saying that. But it's the fact that he's even neglected to even make an apology.
Yeah.
Just make an apology. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, for argument's sake, say he could have just said, look, I didn't say anything, but I apologise, you know, that what he thought I said, etc., etc. I'm not saying that's what I think or all Leeds TV thinks. I'm just saying in that scenario, he could have just said that. Now, I just can't see Kiko staying. I mean, he's been controversial, hasn't he, throughout his career. I remember seeing videos of him coming out and just handballing it when he on loan to Espanyol, I think. But you know, that's the difference. I don't want to waffle because you'll kick me off.
I think obviously there were two names mentioned by Phil. I mean, what I found interesting was the back end when obviously we're talking to the rock stars of Leeds United last Saturday, myself and Joe, Lewis, Paul, and Jinder. You know, Lewis mentioned specifically Angus Gunn. I found that interesting that it's come out this week. Lewis topping the no is one thing to talk about, but that's an interesting one, isn't it, Angus Gunn? We knew that one was mentioned right at the start of Bielsa's reign. I mean, does that look like a good one? You know, for me, looking at Angus Gunn, I think he's not clearly a number one. It's just, I just look at Angus Gunn and think it's probably quite low value, quite a cheap one to bring in. But it keeps Meslier on his toes. He's a good option to bring in. He's fine as a starter. You know, he's shown that at Southampton. I mean, what would you think to Angus Gunn? Yeah, I think obviously Martinez is probably the one, but Arsenal, the way he's performed for Arsenal, I mean, in the cup final, he was just cool. He was just cool as ice, wasn't he? There was no pressure. You think he was playing in five-a-side of his mates in the park, wouldn't you? You know, he looked like cool and composed. But obviously, it looks like Angus Gunn, according to Phil, looks like the most likely. Would you be happy with Angus Gunn, or would you want someone a bit more proven than that, Joe?
I think for me, it's we need a little bit more experience, mate. I don't know what you think. I know we've touched on it before. We were talking about Martinez and saying having 2 young keepers, but it turns out he's 27. So, but on Martinez, I said it on Transfer Daily almost on the Monday after the FA Cup final. The way he reacted as well, the guy was in tears. It meant so much to him, and I don't see him wanting to leave that football club at this moment in time. And the amount he will have endeared himself to the Arsenal fans as well, with showing that they won't want him to leave. So I don't see that happening, which is unfortunate because he'd have been ideal. Cheers, Matt, for sending that. I mean, we'll wire it over to Radrazani and get him to pay the rest of the 19 million. But yeah. Listen, we just need another in the door, don't we? I'm happy with Meslier starting, if I'm being honest. We showed in the Arsenal game what he can do against Premier League opposition. We've seen he's been, like you said, even in that game, I hate to bring it back to, in that Derby game, there was a moment where there was miscommunication between either Dallas or I think it might have been Ayling, and it nearly went in, and I was like, oh, we've been, like, when I watch corners now, there isn't a dread anymore. Under Meslier, there isn't that. Oh God, exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, if we're playing Burnley next season and Kiko's in net, you be sure that they'll get that 4 from set pieces. That's the truth.
I'll be watching from behind the couch because there's no way I'm watching Kiko take a corner.
Well, let's move on then, lads. Let's move on to next point. In fact, I've lost where I've got up to, lads. Let's try and find it right. So we've had. I'm gonna have to. Right. Okay. So
next one.
Next one. Oh, okay. Next one. Let's go on to the realistic transfer targets. Anyway. So Cavani and Ibra. Again, it doesn't really need saying, but this was Phil Hayes' response to this one. Those were never going to happen. Financially, they make no sense, but more to the point, they don't fit with Bielsa's squad. He likes his players to be low-key, low on ego, and low maintenance. Cavani was just Radrazani thinking out loud. So, I mean, obviously Cavani, Ibrahimovic was never going to happen, but I think realistically, looking at it, we're not going to see any big name Hollywood kind of signings going through the door. We're not going to do what Wolves did, when they had Raul Jimenez walking through the door, Neves, etc., etc. We're not going to go down that route by the sounds of things. But are you happy with that? We're not going to go down that, going for one special player to try and carry the whole team. I mean, Danny, were you happy with not going down that route?
I mean, obviously, it was just he was a free agent at the time, wasn't he? So it's just probably his agent putting stuff out. And, well, I mean, with Rad saying that, I mean, we all play FIFA. We all play Footy Manager. We all know the cheat codes and stuff, just paying what they want. But, no, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy with Rad's plan. 2 years, top 10, that's what we'll aim for. And then we'll push for Europe. I mean, by 2 years' time, who knows what squad we'll have. Do you know what I mean? We'll probably, and plus that team cohesion as well, the fluidity. I mean, Dallas is a prime example. A utility player just flowing around. I mean, who knows what we'll be like in 2 years' time if when we're still in the Premier League and we can charge for Europe. But with regards to Ibrahimovic, Cavani, it's just never going to happen. We can't afford to. I mean, we squabble over 80 grand a week for players. Never mind 250 grand a week. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. Sorry, I keep waffling.
I mean, Joe, I'm sure, when we mentioned Ibrahimovic and Cavani on that live stream that time, we don't really
listen. It was absolute tosh. A few of my mates messaged me and were like, "Oh, look at this," and like from Sport Bible or something, and I was like, "Mate, it is never. You never know." I went, "Mate, it is never going to happen." Like, you're talking £250,000 a week to bring someone like Cavani or Ibrahimovic to a team that's just come up from the champion. If you want to do that, we'd have to sell some bodies and just play like Ibra up top on his own. Do you know what I mean? With like Gotts and that behind him. Just try that out. But listen, and I know a lot of Leeds fans won't like this, but I really like Ibra. He's one of my favourites. Right? I read his autobiography. This is before he went to Scum, by the way. And now he's not there anymore, so I can like him again. But he's just one of them characters in football. I know he's arrogant, but he can back it up, man. I always remember that. Remember that goal against Joe Hart, Sweden, in their oh my God, man!
Unreal,
he scored a hat trick as well. The guy's just, I know, right? He's special.
Just even the thought of doing that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then even you see him back off from Joe Hart and read the ball, and it's just wraps the ball around. It's
yeah, this is what I mean. It's like, I know he's so arrogant. Sorry, I just really like him. But for Sweden to open their stadium and play against England, and for him to get a hat trick and finish it off with an overhead kick against Joe Hart from where it was, then you can't blame the man for being an arrogant guy, because that is just like, oh, I'm the guy that opened the stadium that scored a hat trick with an overhead kick to finish. You'd be like, okay, fair enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he backs himself up with his arrogance, so you can't really blame. And who am I? I'm a 31-year-old chubby lad from outside Leeds. You know what I mean? And he's got a ponytail, so you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I've hardly got any hair.
Join the club, man. Join the club.
So obviously we'll move on from that one. I mean, it was a bit like Che Adams one, if not even more unrealistic. So next, a little bit of Q&A. So this is into Phil Hay again. Are you expecting Bamford to start as number 9 for the opening game? My guess is Bielsa will give him a go regardless of who's signed. Can only think that's a mistake. We need to take all our chances in the Prem. So Phil Hay's response: Bamford will probably start. I don't, in all honesty, expect the lineup on the first day of the season to deviate much from Bielsa's preferred lineup this season. You're right about chances in XG, but Bielsa's faith in Bamford has paid off so far. Bielsa's part of the team who won the league by 10 points. Sorry, Bamford's part of the team. Bielsa likes to be loyal, and there's something to be said for that. This isn't a surprise either, is it, really? This isn't a surprise. I think we've all called that even if we sign Watkins and Cavani and all these names, Bamford will still start ahead of him. I mean, do you think that's a big risk or an educated risk, Joe?
I don't think it's a big risk, no. Listen, I've been one of Bamford's biggest critics. I said after Derby I never wanted to see him in a Leeds shirt again. However, this season he has more than warranted his shirt. Yes, we know he misses a lot of chances, and football's emotional, and I've come on post matches and absolutely battered him. But am I surprised that he'll start? No. Do we need someone ready, waiting in the wings? Yes. And we've already tried to do that before. We tried it with Eddie. We tried it with JKA. So don't think that the club and Bielsa has a blind loyalty, because he doesn't. Although he is loyal, he still tried to bring in individuals. They just didn't fit, and JKA wasn't willing to get to the levels. But I have faith in Bamford. Of course, give him that shot. Why not? Yeah, I mean, am I surprised? No, as well, because if you remember, I remember that I will never forget it. I will never forget the very first game under Bielsa against Stoke when we battered them. I'll never forget that game. It was one of the best experiences for me as a Leeds United fan, getting to watch my club play the football as well as it did in that first game. Saiz, etc., Pablo, all on fire, Click, etc. We battered them. But I remember being in the fan zone before that game and the lineup coming out. And I think there was only Barry Douglas that was in, and we were like, what's going on? What the hell is going on here? And look what turned out. So, even if we bring in bodies, I still see us starting with the same lineup that we finished last season with, because that's Bielsa's way. So if you're going to get mad at Bamford, then prepare to be mad, guys, because I'm just giving it you real. He is going to start and he will feature. And you know what? I hope because I've seen a lot of, I think fans of other clubs will look at Bamford starting and laugh and give us grief, right? They will, and they'll be like, Donkey Bamford starting, but I hope he silences them doubters, and he's got my backing to do so. Listen, he's never going to be a 20, 30 goals a season man. He's not, especially in the Premier League. But what he does for our side in bringing individuals into play, and if he's doing that and he's bringing in a Benrahma, a top-of-the-notch Costa, a new, reinvigorated, even better Harrison, a Pablo, then I'm cool with that, man. I'm cool with that. He's not going to get many chances anyway, let's be honest. We're going to be up against bloody, VVD and Laporte. Do you know what I mean? So, don't matter who, they're not going to get bags and bags of chances, guys. It's the Premier League, but Bamford's got my backing.
I know what you're talking about, Joe. He's going to Meg's VVD, and he's going to do a rainbow flick over Alisson into the net, and he's going to go like that.
Yeah. So, well, don't do that, because I hate when he does that, by the way. When he's giving it this, no, none of that.
I mean, it's a fair point, mate. I mean, obviously, a lot of rival fans who Bamford's been on loan to, have obviously criticised Bamford, and understandably so, because obviously Bamford didn't do so well for them. But I think the thing you look at is there's a lot made of Bamford's proving to be a failure in the Premier League, but he started, I think, 2 or 3 games. In all that time, he's just been a sub. You can't judge someone off 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, half an hour there. You can't judge someone on that basis for me. And I think I do remember as well, Bamford, I think when Borough had the cup run a couple of years back, he was absolutely sensational. I think they were playing City away or something like that, and he played really well. But obviously, look, Bamford is going to be the one people point at. When they see that starting lineup, rival fans are going to point at him and say they're not that fearful of him. But look, the thing is, we've only seen Bamford against Stoke, that 5-0 game. Bamford looks like a Premier League player in that game for me. I thought he was absolutely outstanding in that game. It's one of the best, I'd go as far as to say it's one of the best centre-forward performances I've seen since Mark Viduka's left the club. Individually, that game, I think, if he can maintain that kind of level, I thought he finished the season really well. I think he finished the season, plenty of goals, and I think his performances throughout the season have been good. He might have not got the goals, he might have missed chances, but his actual performances, as Joe was saying, have been good. He still plays well. Even when he doesn't need to score to make an impact on games for me. And that's the big thing. I think that's when you really see a Premier League type of player. They don't need to be, big on the stats and that. Like they know how to impact on games, even if it's not their day in front of goal. But I mean, I think we seem pretty calm about that. Bamford starting games and that lot, and that's the thing. Talking short, absolutely spot on. I'm not sure which of the lads that is from Talking Short, but more goals from midfield and out wide take the spotlight off Bamford. And I've said that throughout the season. Costa. Let's not forget Costa only got 4 goals last season. Playing the right side. He's not playing on his favoured side. Being able to cut in his left foot. We need more goals. We need more goals, don't we? From Costa next season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree, especially with Talking Short's comment there as well. It would take the spotlight off Bamford. But what a lot of people don't see, I'm probably going to get... Do you remember when he stopped the goal going...
We're losing you, Danny. We're losing you. You're back. Yeah, stop with your rainbow.
Sorry,
robot dancing.
Sorry. The aerials are in my hands. But, sorry. I'll start again. So I'll probably get pelters for this, but Bamford's off the ball movement for me. I mean, as a striker myself at Sunday League level, I know. So basically, I can't remember. I think it was again. Was it Stoke? Stoke, I think it was, or Hull, where he stopped the ball on the line and he sprinted the full length of the pitch and it hit the post. Now, and then just his other awareness as well. I mean, obviously his finishing could do with a tweak here and there, but I like Bamford. I've grown to like him. He's off the ball positioning, and don't forget as well, he were a lot stronger last season. Like the season before, that was it. It was a pile of washing just on the floor. But this season, his hold-up play has been a lot better, and I think a good number 10 would. I mean, no offense to Tyler. I think Tyler's a great up-and-comer as well, but like a good number 10 would really, really complement Bamford, and I believe that. I mean, we are going to see Bamford start without a doubt, and I'll put my money on that Bamford will score a goal. I'm not going to say how many, but he'll bag at least one, and that's when doubters will start to go. I mean, I'll get pelters for it again, but I'll just not go on Twitter for a bit.
Oscar? What's your thoughts on the Bamford situation? Talk to me. The voice of reason. The voice of reason.
Talking Short and Danny have called it spot on. The players around there. I think I've said this Firmino comparison. I get pelters every time I mention it. I do get pelters every time I mention it. But you look at Firmino, he's not a great player because he scores goals and has these 30, 40 goal a season stats and that lot. it's the players around him, Mane, Salah, Chamberlain, etc., all running off him and scoring the goals and that lot. That's when you got someone like a Bamford, realistically, you're probably not going to get that many goals. You're not going to get more than 15, 20 goals, especially in the Prem. I'm hoping he can get himself to double figures, 10, 12, 13 goals, and that'll be a decent season. But I think you need the players around him, because the thing with Bamford is he's got a brain. He's got a proper football brain for me. You look at these little flicks around the corner. I think Danny, when Danny sent us a video across the other day, he mentioned about Dallas's chance. That came from an absolutely unbelievable pass off Bamford. He just flicks it off the outside of his foot, over another defender's head, straight into the path of Dallas. He's got so much technical quality, and he's got Premier League technical quality for me. I think what could go against him is if the players around him don't perform. If Costa doesn't step up from this season, if Harrison doesn't go up another level, because let's not forget Harrison, I thought was immense last season. But he still only scored 5 goals, I think. Was it 5 goals or 6? It wasn't any more than that, anyway. And for me, a winger in this team, the chances Harrison gets on the back post, he needs to add to that for me. And I think he will add to that. Obviously Pablo 35, we can't be relying as much on Pablo next season. I think Click, how much I love Click. Click's an immense player. But even Click can probably get a couple more goals. Probably be a little bit disappointed with his final goal tally. And I look at that and say, we just need those players to make a few more runs for him. I watched Costa and Bamford a lot last season, and I thought, I think when Bamford drops deep, you want someone like a Costa just making just runs in behind him all the time. So he's got that pass, and because I just felt sometimes last season, especially sort of the first half of the season, when we sort of had that little wobble at the start of the season, we had Costa struggling to get Costa integrated into the side in that loss. I just felt that, Costa needs to do a little bit more for me. I do like Costa. I just think Costa needs to take a leaf out of Harrison's book for me. I think if Costa does that, Harrison goes up another level. You've got those two there. Don't forget new signings potentially. You've got Harry Wilson running off him, a Ben Rama running off him. That's the thing. You look at those kind of players. Obviously, David's off the cards now, but there's all sorts of different options, isn't there? I think a lot of the thing is with Bamford. I don't think Bamford's the type of player, put it this way, who gets you promoted on his own. But what I will say about Bamford is he's a very, very, very important piece of that jigsaw. He's a very important piece of that jigsaw, but he's not.
Can I just add one point to that? You say about improving players. I mean, look at Dallas, Bamford. All of them have improved in 2 seasons under Bielsa. Just imagine what they're going to do this time round. That's what I'm just going to say.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, even from the first season, I think everyone's improved from the first season for me. I can't think of one player, other than obviously Casilla, but Casilla's a goalkeeper. I can't think of one player outfield who's not played as well this season as they did the season before. I think they've all improved in the way. Even people like Luke Ayling and that lot, Click, etc. I still think they've all stepped up another level from that first season. So I'm confident again, mate, that they can all step up. It's just they probably need a little bit more help from the bench this time. I think, obviously, he looks at last season. We all mentioned this last season. How many times did we look at that bench and saw people like, no disrespect to Robbie Gotts, but Robbie Gotts, Pascal Strauch,
Jordan Stevens,
etc., etc. You saw a lot of names, a lot of defenders on the bench, not much attacking quality can come on. Like, say, I don't know, like Jack Clark did about 18 months ago kind of thing. You didn't really look at the bench and think, there's someone there, if the chips are down with 20 minutes to go, who comes off that bench to change the game. But to be fair, as the season went on, as we got players back from injury, I thought that bench started to improve. And if we can just bring in a couple of players, I don't think we need to go mad in the window. I don't think we need to go in maybe like Cavani and Ibrahimovic. I don't think we need those kind of players. I just think we need to look at that bench and say, okay, if things go wrong an hour, 70 minutes into the game, got people on there who can change the game for us, win us the game, get us something out of the game. That's what I think we need, just a little bit more of that, a bit more impact off the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, man. I have to agree, mate. And like Charlie says there, thanks for the super chat, mate. Problems for goal wasn't on Bamford, not just on him, because like you said, our second highest scorer was OG. And we do need others in the team to start scoring more, as Talking Shut said earlier. And with that improved quality, maybe we get that. Like you say, I would love nothing back that a Bamford chesting it down, putting it on his left foot, laying it into Ben Rama, and Ben Rama just whips one in the top corner. Top bins, Leeds United 1, Scum 0. That's the way, baby.
And
But,
that goal relegates them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ollie's at the wheel, remember?
Well, to move on then, let's look at the next question in for Phil Hay, as long as we've not lost track here. Okay, if not, that's good. Is the hold-up with the new kit to do with the new sponsorship deal or at Adidas' end themselves? So, Phil Hay's response, this has been second to Bielsa's list. This has been second to Bielsa's contract in the list of most asked questions. We're sad, aren't we? We're asking about a kit before. Where's the kit? It's coming, basically. At least one photo shoot has been done with the players, and the 5-year deal with Adidas has been announced, but Leeds are still in the process of finalising fresh sponsorship agreements, and the kit won't be released or put up on for sale until those are in place. Brackets, for example, a new brand is set to replace 32 red on the front of the kit. You know how it is these days, a main sponsor, a secondary sponsor, a sleeve sponsor, etc. There are countless opportunities to exploit, and the value of them increases dramatically in the Premier League, so Leeds will want to get these contracts right. Yeah, I mean, the kit's been spoken about a lot, hasn't it? It's, obviously, Joe is sporting the Adidas there, to be fair. I mean, it'd be interesting, won't it? The kit, obviously, we've seen a lot of talk of this going back to that kind of like Inter Milan kind of away kit, you know, the blue and black and that lot down the sides. I mean, it's interesting. I think the good thing, I mean, there's not a lot to discuss on this, but I think the good thing is getting rid of the 32 red. I think there are a lot of traditional old boys and Leeds fans who just wanted the what's the name? That's taken off. That's taken off all day long. And yeah, it'd be interesting who takes over sponsors. I mean, Joe, you mentioned Kazoo, didn't you?
Someone mentioned that. I mean, you can't blame the club, like Phil here says there. I mean, Radrazani's seen an absolute opportunity on the bucket, and the Wish sponsored the bucket. So, of course, when we go up to the Premier League, there's even more opportunity for that. So, like he says, sleeve sponsor, shirt sponsor, bloody, you know, shin pad sponsors, whatever the opportunity is there, he's going to take it, right? And he's going to want to get the right deal for the club. And of course, it brings in money to the club. I do want them to hurry it up though, for selfish reasons, because I'm going to Benidorm in 2 weeks, whether you agree with that or not. But I am going, and we're all going, and I want to get the kit for me and the little man for the holiday. So I do wish they would hurry it up, just from a personal standpoint. But listen, whatever happens, there will be people that don't like it. There will be an uproar on Twitter. I've seen stuff coming out about, you know, this here from Stephen Mayer. Apparently it's a maroon type colour, ties in with the 49ers. I've seen a lot of hate. I mean, if it's red, that's insanity from Radrazani. And we've seen him do some insane things, like with the badge and etc. If it's red, that's suicide. So don't go down that route. But I believe the links to the kit of the blue and the lighter blue, a bit like the Thistle Hotels. I think that one's bang on, to be honest. We've got a white one, which will be fine. But yeah, I've heard touch. Let's hope it's maroon anyway. What would you guys do if it was red?
I'll let Danny go first.
Well, they probably try and pass it off as a new old boys sort of, you know, thing. But you still, I mean, we've read once, I think, many moons ago. But it's not I don't want to sound like, it's not the Leeds way. It's, you know what I mean? Like, over the past couple of seasons, we've seen the black away kit, the one that Oscar's got on now, the charcoal and pink, I think it's called. And even this bus seat one, they've all been good sellers. And that's what Rads is about. It's all about what's point. Well, white's always going to be his home kit without a doubt. But like blue and yellow, it's how many times a season has it happened? You know, it's normal. It's main. Do you know what I mean? Rads is thinking, in my opinion, that the odd ones outsell. The charcoal and pink one, it was a record seller, and so was the black and white one. So it just proves that different sells. I mean, I'll get pelters again, but you know what I mean. I'd like a yellow one, not a maroon, Please not maroon.
Oh, yeah.
Anything but maroon.
But we'll buy it.
I agree on the yellow, though.
We'll Leeds being Leeds, we'll outsell it. You know what I mean? We'll buy it, buy them all.
We could have a camouflage one that is still sell. You know, like it's the. Well, no, I definitely agree on the yellow. I always love seeing Leeds in the yellow away kit. I mean, the one we had, is it for Bielsa's first season, whether that's like Sweden kind of kit, the yellow and blue shorts. I love that one. That was absolutely immense. That kit, as kits go. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, guys. It's going to cost an absolute fortune, probably an arm and a leg, especially in the Premier League. That Premier League badge there, it's going to cost an absolute arm and a leg. We'll have to remortgage the house to buy all three, but we'll have to wait and go. Have to wait and see anyway. So let's move on anyway. You know, we don't want to sit here talking about kits all day long when there's some juicy deals to talk about. So talking of juicy deals. So is it possible QSI will invest at some point? So here's Phil Hayes' response. The QSI link has been odd. It's clear that there's a relationship between Andrea Radrizzani and Nasser El Khelafi, but for all the talk, it doesn't go anywhere. QSI has never done due diligence or made a concerted effort to buy in. And whenever you talk to Leeds about it, they always say further investment from the San Francisco 49ers is far more realistic. That was born out of a couple of weeks ago by Parag Marav, one of 49ers executives, admitting that the NFL franchise would like to increase its minority stake, which of course is at 10% at the minute. What I can't envisage is a three-way split of shares between Radrizzani, the 49ers and QSI. I don't see how that works. Again, no real surprises. I think obviously there was never any kind of realistic mention of QSI and 49ers sharing, Leeds United as such. But I mean, obviously the 49ers link's been there a long time. I mean, what would you feel to that, Danny? Is there any, if you had a choice between the two, taking finances out of it, would you rather stick with the 49ers? Obviously, we've got Parag Marav on the board already. Would you rather just keep it as it is, just keep that boardroom as similar as it can be and just increase the stake, try and pump in a little bit more money into the transfer fund? Or would you rather go a bit more daring and go for this QSI link?
Personally, I'd just stick with the 49ers. They've got a good business model. I mean, their 49ers club alone is, I think it's worth $2 billion or something like that. And I think they've got not to say that QSI don't, but they're in the board. That they know how the club run and manage, and I think they'll up their stake in the club. And Rads has always said that if you want to invest in Leeds, come to the table, we'll have a talk and we'll see what happens. But I can't see Radrizzani letting go of any more shares unless the 40, because I think if we'd have stayed in the championship, their stake would have gone up even more, would it not? Through a clause in one of the contract. But I think now that the 49ers will step up, personally. I mean, we'd all love the QSI to come in and just pump us full of money and stuff, and that's just an easy way to do it for me. I'd like 49ers just to step up now, and I welcome any investment to me as well.
Would you agree, Joe? Would you, or would you go daring and say, let's get the QSI in and let's go for Cavani and people like that? Or would you just say, let's stick with this NFL franchise? Let's not forget, if San Fran 49ers pump in more and more money, there's a possibility we're going to San Francisco for pre-season at some point.
Yeah, I think Oscar, listen, Radrizzani's doing it the right way for me. Definitely. I think I would rather have that measured plan and a constant stream and a build-up. Listen, we'd all if QSI were to come tomorrow and sign in and then sign Neymar and Co, of course we'd be buzzing, do you know what I mean? But does it have that longevity? Does there come a point when these rich billionaires have enough of football and think, do you know what, let's get away from this, let's do it? Maybe they will, I'm not sure. But I think the way we ran at the moment, it's ran the right way. And listen, I think we'd all like to see us spend 100 and odd million, but it's shown in previous seasons it doesn't work. Let's be honest. I mean, look how long it took City, even still, you know what I mean? Like, when they came in and they had Mark Hughes and he just signed all these decent Premiership players, your Bellamy's, your Adebayos and all these players, and Robinho thought he were coming to scum and he was going to City. It don't always work. Eventually they got there, but I don't know. Listen, we'd all like money, but I think we're going about it the right way. And how refreshing would it be to do it the right way? And we've seen, like, if you look at the teams, I forget, like now, like obviously we've gone up. West Brom, parachute payments. Fulham, parachute payments. Swansea, parachute. Do you know what I mean? They all have this fallout, and we've done it the right way, and we've done it not cheating, like your derbies, like your Sheffield Wednesdays that are now paying that price. Well, Derby are yet to, but hopefully they will. And I just think we've done it the right way. We've done it following the rules. And let's just keep that investment, because the 49ers have been involved. I was listening to Square Ball the other day, and it turns out Parag had actually had conversations with Numpty from QSI, David, what's his name? Him who got arrested. I forget his name now. He got arrested and he was in bloody... Someone talked to me about it. What's his name, man?
Oh, David Haig.
Yeah, David Haig. Yeah, him, right? And apparently he had connections with the 49ers before all Radrazani even came in and they'd spoke to them. So they clearly see Leeds United as a decent outfit, a decent operation to be able to take us to that next level. And like you guys said, 49ers are huge. Why can't we be huge and do it that way? But then again, if QSI came tomorrow and gave me 100 billion, then let's take that as well. It is what it is.
I'd take 100 billion as well.
Yeah.
I'd take one, guys. I'd take one.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another slightly different question. Okay, so a bit different this. Who is in charge of bringing in the academy signings? Does Bielsa get a say on them? So the person driving that area of recruitment is Craig Dean, their head of emerging talents. Bielsa will be consulted, absolutely, but most of the scouting at that level is driven by Dean. It's him who has been looking at the likes of Charlie Allen and Joe Gelhardt. I mean, what do you think of that then? Obviously Bielsa maybe having a bit less of a say on the academy. Would that be any kind of concern at all, or is that just pretty standard to you, Joe?
I think that's probably a good thing, if I'm being honest, because I don't know, this might sound mad. The club will get the deals done. I think if you go to them with Bielsa, maybe he's taking months to analyse and wanting to go to Linfield and watch Charlie Allen 15 times before he makes a decision. And by then, the scum have come in and took him away from you.
What's the school grades like? And all that lot will be like,
yeah, exactly.
What's the school report like?
We all know what he did with Pochettino, turning up at his house looking at his legs. Do you know what I mean? If you were to do that in today's world, I think you'd be on list. Sorry. But no, look, Charlie Allen, there's the kid drama as well from Fulham. There's Joe Gelhardt. Listen, whatever he's doing it right, because these are young, emerging talent that hopefully will make that step up to the first team. And if they do, it's going to be under the tutelage of Bielsa, and that's only a good thing, right?
I mean, Danny, obviously, we're going down this long-term route, as Joe mentioned, Gelhardt and Charlie Allen coming in. I mean, are you happy with that? That we're building, maybe not just thinking about what's happening right now. It is like, 5-10 years time, possibly longer. Let's not forget, it could be even longer than that, until we feel the real benefits of this to an extent. Obviously, Chelsea have gone on for years and years and years and never really made any use of the academy. Okay, this season you have a little bit. But what do you think to that, Danny?
I like the fact that Bielsa sort of has a bit of a say in it, because I'd like our football to trickle all the way down, which it does. I mean the under 23s brilliant under Cobra, and even before Bielsa came in. But I'd like all our football just to trickle all the way down, because what we play, I mean, it's unique. Bielsa, Leeds United, high-paced, pressing football, and it's entertaining to watch. I'm more than happy that these players are coming through and they're learning our way.
Okay, well let's just move on to, we've got two more quick mentions of Phil Hay. So the next one to go to is, okay, talking about Carlos himself. Okay, any news on a replacement for Carlos? So you'll have all seen the news about Carlos Corberán leaving to be Huddersfield's manager. He had a dual role for Leeds, covering the first team and the under-23s. One option for Bielsa is to just give it to Diego Flores, his assistant, in that role. It's a possibility, but someone will have to take it on. Bielsa wants the right person on this. Wants the position to be filled. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, that's taking a bit of time, isn't it? We're really thinking about that in terms of who comes in. I mean, would you be happy just to keep it in the family to an extent and give it to Flores, Joe?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, definitely. I think it was quite telling that oh, my mind has gone blank. You can tell it's 125. What's this, Corberán? Fucking hell, I've even forgot Corberán, man. It's been a long week. Yeah, I think it was quite telling that Corberán actually was brought into the fold. It's not normally a Bielsa style. He likes to keep it in-house. I very much doubt they bring someone new in and bring him in, because Corberán was already there and Bielsa probably accept that, but now it's Bielsa's regime and his house and his family. I don't see him accepting someone else getting brought into the fold. I don't know. I know you mentioned someone before, Oscar. Are you allowed to elaborate on that? Is that a mover, or do you want to keep your... Go on.
One person Bielsa's very close to, and what I do find interesting from Danny and what he said about Bielsa potentially looking to restructure the academy slightly. One person that comes straight into my mind, you might want to have to Google him after I mention this, anyone who's watching, but Kuko Zaganda, watch out for him. Watch out for him. He worked under Bielsa at Bilbao. They're still close friends. I know for a fact Kuko had gone to quite a lot of games last season and the season before that. Met up with Bielsa quite a lot, and he still has a strong friendship with Bielsa. I think Bielsa invited him to the training ground early on in the reign just to observe some sessions, because Kuko has big ambitions to be a manager himself. I think he was managing Bilbao about 2 years ago. Look, it's 2 + 2 and getting 5 at the end of the day. But if that is correct, Bielsa's wanted to restructure the academy. I do see. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out of absolutely nowhere. Kuko Zaganda gets mentioned, or someone he's worked with at Marseille. It could well happen. Let's not forget, he took obviously Salim with him as well, Salim Lamrani from Marseille to Leeds. He's got history of doing this, Bielsa. Obviously, I know Lamrani had a different role, but yeah, no, that could be possibly, that could be 2 + 2 = 5. But I do know Kuko wants to get back into management. Whether you see that as a long-term, look, it's going to be a long-term ambition if you take over as the academy manager and then have to build up a rapport, to get to that level of respect that Carlos Corberán had. But I don't know, it's an interesting one. It could happen, it might not happen. I might be talking absolute rubbish, I probably am, to be fair. But if that happened, it wouldn't surprise me. That's just one name I would say to look out for potentially in the next couple of weeks, if it still goes on. I mean, Danny, would you agree with giving Flores a shot at it?
At first, maybe, yeah. It'd be such a Bielsa thing to bring his own people in. Like the guy you just mentioned there. I can see Flores taking it on for now, because he'd be like the liaison between Bielsa and the 23s. It makes sense in my eyes. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I can't see it going any other way, really. Can you?
No, I mean, it's one of them. I don't think it'll be high on the list of priorities. I think obviously the first team has to take, that has to be what we have to sort out first and foremost. Obviously the academy, look, if we even have to put someone temporarily in the role until we find the right person who fits the club, I'm sure we'll probably do that. We might even give Flores the role temporarily, because let's not forget, it's not got a lot of time to plan for season. It's like half a pre-season in effect, and we've got a plan for that. But I think obviously, we've got an hour and a half into this now, lads. I think we should go to the questions from the board anyway. And one name that was mentioned a lot early on in the chat, I probably won't be able to find the questions again, but let's talk about him anyway. A bit of mention about Eddie Nketiah. Would you take him on loan again next season if that's a possibility? It's probably not, but would you go for that, Joe?
No, I've tried there, been there, done that, and I don't think it's a possibility at all. He's playing at Arsenal, man. He just played in the FA Cup final. So no, we need to go after our own. Exactly. Yeah, he won the FA Cup. Double winner, right? Championship and FA Cup winner. You can't go too far wrong with that. He's got bags of potential. He'll be. I think he could. Maybe Ian Wright's a bit of a far fetch, but he could reach them sort of levels if he stays at Arsenal. I don't know what you guys think. I think he's that good. He's got that much potential, and obviously he's under Ian's wing a little bit. But who that striker is for Leeds United, I'm not sure, but I think we will get one. Orta was out travelling. There's been the other morning. There's been the lad Gonzalez linked from Stuttgart, I believe. Yeah, I've seen that mentioned, and I know the Mirror's reporting it there, but it looks like it's got a little bit of weight to it. There's other people. There's even Germans talking about it as well as maybe a goer. So, Eddie, no, but we do need someone.
What do you think then, Danny? If you could pick one, obviously realistic, don't say Cavani or something like that, but if you could pick one striker in that kind of Eddie mould, you're obviously saying Eddie's unrealistic. Who would you go for?
Oh, ask me an easier one. Eddie and Ketty.
Batshuayi, for example, who's popped up on the screen there.
I was just about to say, a lot of people have been saying no to the Batman, but I like him. He's got Premier League pedigree. He knows where the goal is, and he's played under Bielsa before. But just to touch on Eddie Nketiah, his awareness in the box, it was just for me. It were like watching Ian Wright. To be fair, he's just a fox in the box. And that goal against Brentford, where he scored to win it, right place, right time, and that for me is what we need and what we want in it. In the end of the day, but I just don't think he quite fit the setup. But I think we need not a Bamford-esque player, but that sort of, is willing to run, willing to, like when JKA came in, we all thought that this is it, that's it, we're going up 100 goals from JKA, but it turns out he didn't have the sort of right attitude. But it's all about the attitude as well, isn't it, really? If you're not willing to graft your ass off, then you're not going to be in the team. End of. I mean, look at Ian Poveda. He came in. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but apparently he didn't impress much under Bielsa. But then he grafted his ass off, and look at him now. He scored a goal against Derby, albeit offside. But yeah, sorry, I went off on a bit of a waffle again.
It's all right. Do you know what it is, right? For me, it'll be third time lucky. 3 times a charm. We tried with Eddie. It didn't work. We tried with JKA. It didn't work. This time, it's going to work. They clearly want a striker. They've constantly gone in, and that's what I think some Leeds fans fail to remember this, that Leeds United have actually gone in for a striker, and we have actually had someone decent at the helm. Eddie has just won the FA Cup. JKA, there was a lot said about him. Do you know what I mean? Yes, they haven't worked out, and I think Orta gets a bit of unfair stick for that. But ultimately, we are going for someone. We will get someone, and it will stick. And when it does stick, then happy days. Could we have a Llorente, style-esque signing one day? Do you know what I mean? He worked wonders under Bielsa, and it will happen at some point, and it will stick. And hopefully, 3 times a charm, we get that man who just bags and bags and bags. And hopefully, Bamford's it.
And don't forget, we've got Premier League football that's attracting players now. JKA. I mean, when we signed JKA, the amount of opposition fans were just like quite jealous of it. And do you know what I mean? But now with Premier League football, I mean, it's a higher caliber across Europe, even the world maybe. They'll want to play in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean?
Well, one mention as well. Let's go on to defensive signings. A lot of talk about this lad. Let's talk about him. John Stones. I mean, would you look at that? Say if we took wages out of the equation, just John Stones, the footballer now, would you see him as a potential Ben White's replacement? I mean, Danny, I'll go to you first, mate. What are your feelings on that?
I can see how it could work. It needs a lot of tuning for me under the Bielsa system. I mean, the comparisons between Ben White and Stones are, big. He's an England international, and Ben's only just had a championship season, but I can see the similarities, and I'd welcome it. I won't lie. I think he could do a job, but I think Talksport said it, tweeted it out. I think, and but yeah, I don't know about you. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think. Let's be honest. I mean, John Stones was some talent a couple of seasons back, man. It's been quite a fall from grace where we're saying, do you think you could do a job alongside Ben White or in replacement of Ben White? What a fall from grace, right? But listen, I mean, my mind today, the magnifying glass is on you at a club like City when you're playing at such high level and up against such difficult opposition week in, week out. Maybe the move was too soon for him, I'm not sure, but when City come calling at that sort of price, he's a Yorkshire lad, right? He was at Barnsley. It probably could work, yeah, but I just don't see it happening, man. It's too much for wages. I tell you one bit that we did miss, Oscar, that we did miss from the Phil Hay article. I think it's on there somewhere, but it'll be a minefield trying to find it. But was the fact that Bielsa, and we're in this situation again because we were in it last season. Not that one, fella. Don't worry about flashing it. We could be here all day. But is the fact that he only wants one centre-back in the door. He don't want another, which I found really, really surprising, especially with the step up. And I remember having the same conversations last season in the Championship when we sold Janssen, brought White in. He still doesn't want another. He just wants one. And we know he likes a small squad, but I do think, whoa, you really are playing with fire with that one. What do you think, Oscar? Just one? Like, if he gets White, are you happy with that?
You mentioned about potentially Luke Hay, because we've also been linked to a lot of holding midfielders as well, which I found strange at first, but is the plan potentially, it's the fourth centre-back, if you like, or third centre-back. Obviously, Perez not going to be there anywhere to be seen next season, but we've seen how Luke Ayling did at centre back this season. I think obviously at first, before Bielsa came in, the idea of Luke Ayling at centre back gave me nightmares at night, honestly, because it just didn't work. He just wasn't suited to that. It happens, fullbacks are fullbacks for a reason. But under Bielsa, I just think Luke Ayling's become so much more cultured as a defender that he can play out the back. He can perform that role for me if needed. Obviously, KP. So there's options there to drop into centre-back. I think they're both competent to do it. Obviously, look, if you're playing Luke Ayling, you want him playing right back. If you're playing Callum Phillips, you want him playing holding midfield. But what Bielsa loves is adaptability. And with someone like Luke Ayling and Callum Phillips, you get two players who can just adapt. Like, flick of a switch, they can adapt no problem. You can move Dallas to right back, Douglas or Alioski left back, Ayling, Phillips, centre-back, etc. Or if you want to play a back three, he always has Ayling in there on the right side of that back three. Just keeping track of the wingers on the outside and that lot. And that's interesting, isn't it? I think that's probably the route he wants to go down. I think he wants to keep that small squad. And I think the way Bielsa will look at it is he brings another centre back. Then all of a sudden you bring in the second centre back. Realistically, he knows that second centre back isn't going to be much use to him. The only way he's going to be much use to him is if there's an injury or a dramatic loss of form. He's not going to change the team every single week. He's not going to rotate. We've seen this before with Bielsa. He won't rotate. The only opportunities say if that second centre-back, for argument's sake, was Howard Bellis or Juan Foy, for example, if they were the second centre-backs and we brought in Ben White, they're not going to get many games, are they? Realistically, are they going to play? And that's probably the way. I'm not saying I agree with it. I probably get hammered in the comments, but all means I want to see. I think any club needs to have three centre-backs, out-and-out centre-backs. But look, we've got Pascal Struijk. Potentially, do we fast-track Charlie Creswell's progress, etc.? Again, in the Premier League, you're a little bit like, that's a bit of a risky one. But, Ollie Casey as well. We've got a lot of young centre-backs. And maybe if you do bring in another centre-back, you put their progress back even further. Maybe the plan was next season, get Ollie Casey on the bench, get him in and close to the first team. Pascal Struijk getting close. We know how much Bielsa likes Pascal Struijk. I don't know. What do you think, Danny? What would you? Are you frustrated if we don't get more than one centre back and we're just left with Coops and White or Coops and Bellis or Coops and Foyth, etc., etc.?
I minimum, I'd like 2 centre backs. Ben White if possible, but I'd also like someone to cover Berardi because he won't play. If he is going to play, he'll play at the back end of the season. That's if he stays, to be honest. What about Foyth? I'd like Foyth, to be fair, as a second one as well.
Yeah, I think maybe Foyth's been looked at as then instead of Ben White. I did think we would bring in 2, but doesn't seem to be the case. You get an injury to White or Cooper, what happens then, man? It's a sobering thought, but we had these conversations last season. Guys, we've done an hour and 40 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. I need to, because it's Saturday and I need to go to the beach and take the kids, so I'm going to have to shoot. But I don't know if you want to tie it up. Go on, Oscar.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure if you want to get any more questions in, guys, but mention the Baines, Maitland-Niles, etc., etc. But I think, to be fair, we'll probably leave it there. It's 100 minutes there. Round it on. We will definitely, guys, do another one of these, 100%. With our man Danny there. Definitely expect to see plenty more of Danny in the coming weeks. And yeah, I guess big thanks to Danny for joining.
Just before everyone does shoot off, we have got an exciting guest on tomorrow at 6 p.m. We have Ignacio, or Nacho Z, as he's known on YouTube. Nacho lives in London, but he's an Argentinian. He absolutely loves Bielsa. He made his way to the game against Charlton and somehow managed to get in the box. He watched the game with the players. He met Bielsa. There's a lovely video out on YouTube, which we'll post up later on so everyone can see what Ignacio actually got to do. And we're going to have a chat with Ignacio about Bielsa, about that night, and about, just how well loved, Marcelo is over there. I think it'd be really nice for us to get an Argentinian perspective on the channel to have a chat about God, really. But yeah, I'm happy for you guys. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. and we'll leave it there.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.